How do you create something that's different than everyone else? You do it differently than everyone else. Here at Copeland Creative, we specialize in telling captivating stories of wild people, wild things, and wild places. We don't just capture the story, we immerse ourselves in it. We are a diverse, multi-talented media house based in North Georgia, and if you have a story that needs told, we want to help you tell it.
No. No audio or no video. Is it not plugged in? It's fine. I think we're on. Are we live now? Can you see us? Are you on the stream? Anybody checking the stream here?
Oh yeah, we're in business. Hi guys.
You can see us?
I can see us. Here and there.
Oh, nice. Okay, good deal. We're live. Yeah, I guess you just have to restart that thing every time.
That's annoying.
Very annoying. I'm trying to open up YouTube so I can see it on my computer, and I can watch and make sure. Trash. Okay. Oh, because it goes to Redneck Tech email. Trash. YouTube. There she blows. All right, we are live there. Devin's here, of course. Hey, buddy.
Holy
loyal.
cow, he made it.
Loyalty.
I don't think he actually has a choice to miss it because I send him like 19 notifications when the podcast is happening because he missed it one time.
Oh.
And I had to hear about it for like 3 days.
Does he like it that much? Devin, do you like it that much, buddy?
I think it's just better than drawing CAD.
True story. Oh, is that what he does? Is draws?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, so he's just watching us sit in his office and.
So he makes the big bucks, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
We're always looking for financial backers.
Yeah, it's Amazon Prime Day, and I've got that open in another window. I'm trying to see if there's any like killer smoking deals.
What is Amazon Prime Day?
So if
Is
you're an
that the
Amazon
day that
Prime,
Optimus Prime died for our sins.
No, Amazon Prime
Close,
Day
though.
is every year they have a day or two to where there's tons and tons and tons of products on Amazon that are lower than normal. And if you're a Prime member, you have access to those deals.
It's the day that our overlord, Jeff Bezos, mercifully grants us a small discount on commercial goods that marginally affects his bottom line, but actually it doesn't because everybody buys more stuff, so he makes more money.
True story.
We've been tricked.
It's like a lost loser type thing.
I need to get some of those drives, some of those.
Well, they say so. That's what I was looking at earlier because I was going to get some more solid states.
Yeah.
This is a baby back BS. So it says this 4 terabyte drive normally is $899. It's never been $899. It's been close to $500.
Yeah.
But
so
they're
they
saying
jack it up and then
yes,
classic switch up.
it says it's
The old
49%
switcheroo.
off, which is
That's
pretty crap.
BS.
That's pretty much what they do for
I
like
want
It's
half of.
about $25, $30 off, which is not nothing, but
It's
it ain't
definitely
50.
not-
Because
yeah.
if that sucker was $250, I would buy about 10 of them right
Oh,
now
yeah, for sure.
and just have them like Skittles around this office.
Yeah. I need to get a few of those.
But they're not. And I was looking at the Amazon Prime deals, and I don't want to look through them yet, but I need to. I'll go to the electronics and browse around for a couple hours tonight when I'm laying in the bed and see if there's anything we have to have.
Could you touch my audio down a little bit?
What number are you?
3
3?
or 2, sorry.
Oh, yeah. Number 2.
Yeah.
That better?
Yeah.
That is better? Okay.
Yeah, you were like blowing me out there.
All right. You only sent me one today, sir, he said. One notification.
Well,
And
Keegan is known to be a man of hyperbole.
Of hyperbole.
So
right?
correct me if I'm wrong, but those hard drive, like the Lacey's,
Mhm.
those are, if they crash, you can still recover.
Okay, so there's
So,
two different types of drives. There's just a regular magnetic spinning drive, which
Yeah.
is
The Lacey.
what a lot of hard drives here are.
Which
Yeah.
is, if you look online now, is usually labeled HDD.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And then there's a SSD, which is a solid state drive,
Which is like a giant SD card, right?
pretty much.
Yeah.
Those drives historically are more rugged and tougher and will last longer in theory,
Mm-hmm.
but when they do finally die,
They're dead.
they're dead.
Yeah.
There's, as of right now, I'm not aware of a way to recover data off of them.
Gotcha.
That's why we always run two drives. That way they're
Two
always
different kinds? Or
no
just
two drives.
Gotcha.
That way everything's always mirrored. That way if one gets dropped, one gets dropped in the toilet or falls on the ground or gets rained on, or
Mm-hmm.
Finally just one of the days gives up, we have the other one to fall back on.
I see.
One is none, two is one, three is two.
Gotcha.
So
Also locations.
locations, yes.
Two in the same location is good, but two in different locations is better.
Yeah.
Boy, a lot of juicy tips here on the live stream.
Got to be on the live stream, guys. Been telling you guys that for a long time. All right, we ready to roll into?
I took more notes too.
So are
Do you want
are
a
you
cookie?
heading this up?
Well, not
Yes,
really.
that's a yes. Okay.
Okay.
All right, let's
do I
go.
get to do the intro though? then?
Sure, fine.
Beautiful. Brought to you by Mike'sArchery.com. They're a one-stop shop for virtually everything archery, bow hunting, and for your next outdoor adventure. Mike's Archery has been at the top of the archery game for over 50 years, and they want to give listeners of the Redneck Tech podcast 10% off their entire online store using the code REDNECK10, all one word. Just put the code in before you check out, and your boys will hook you up. The guys at Mike's have always been good to us, and now they can be good to you too. Visit Mike'sArchery.com and get your gear now.
Right here. Yeah. You want it? Yeah. Sorry, Brian and Travis, I missed the beginning of the sponsor plug. It's supposed to say Mike's Archery at the very beginning of that. I forgot to turn the volume up, and Ryer has crucified me. I'll
I thought I
never.
was getting to do the intro. You said that I was going to get to do the intro to this.
All right.
Then you took it over. But it's done now. But I was going to,
I was apologizing for a mistake. You go ahead and do the intro. What's this podcast about, Ryer? I'm listening.
Welcome to the Redneck Tech Podcast. This is episode 154. That's 154 for people who don't like saying individual numbers. We are talking about TV shows, specifically hunting TV shows, and giving you all the rundown from zero to hero for those of you out there who want to have their own hunting TV show. We, as a company, have produced multiple hunting TV shows. Caleb has been producing hunting TV shows for what?
10 years-ish?
10, 13 years now.
No, 10.
And
Don't give me 13 yet.
We've got a
He's not
pretty
gray enough for 13.
not great enough for 13.
Feel like I am.
We've got a pretty extensive knowledge base, and we have a lot of people contact us and ask us about TV, what it takes to have a TV show. I know that at one point in time, I was among those people who contacted Caleb about, hey, what do I need to know if we're going to have a TV show? So this is the third installment of our three-part series, So You Wanna. We did a So You Wanna Have a Podcast episode, and we also did a So You Wanna Have a Web Show episode. The web show episode was pretty long and extensive. We covered a lot of stuff. Some of those things are crossover, so we may not cover them here. We may gloss over them, but especially gear stuff, if you want to get more information on camera gear, we talked a lot about it in the previous episode, which would be number 153. But also, we live stream these on YouTube. If you also want to see our faces, you can do that on YouTube.
Overrated.
Mine looks as good as it sounds, but I can't speak for the others.
If
Who let
only
me
your
have a
shirt
microphone?
did.
The web show episode ended up being 2.5 hours.
We gave out a lot of information. I actually, so we were like, holy crap! It was
And
2.5
y'all,
hours.
and you didn't even write the podcast thing correctly.
What do you mean?
It's supposed to be 151, 150, 149. You went episode 152. I guess I'll have
Oh.
to go in and edit that. Gosh, killing me.
That's just how I do it. I guess I didn't.
Yeah, it's wrong.
Mm.
You'd be wrong.
I like doing the ep,
Mm-mm.
so people know.
People know it's an episode. They're not dumb. Sometimes.
I was gonna say, don't you have to treat your audiences sometimes like they are?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, anyways, there's a live stream. We love to see you all on there. If you're on there, you get the exclusive opportunity to ask us questions
Wow, not
live.
Good. Not good.
You know what, Keegan? I want to hear it from you. Okay. You walk up here and then you just berate me for the entire podcast and you walk back down. So I don't appreciate it. It's not very nice. Hurts my feelings, honestly, a little bit. So,
Winter's on. Tim's on. 42 Pros is here. Matt Postel, he's here.
gang's all
How was
here.
it? Was it Postel? Oh, I said it wrong last time.
Wasn't it pastel?
I don't remember.
As long as it's not pasta sauce, I think
No,
we're in
it's
good
not.
shape.
It's not. Okay, so we've got several guys listening, so this will be a fun one. So Ryer is going to take lead on this, and I'm just going to.
I'm not really taking lead.
Sounds like it.
You have more of the information than I do. So, but I've got
Isn't that always the case, though?
not always. Sometimes you have to ask me for editing help. Sometimes you ask me editing questions.
All right, but let's do a weighted scale here.
I know a lot of things about a lot of stuff.
Obviously, not fashion. It's not one of those things.
Ooh.
This is a very good outfit. I mean, y'all both. That's just t-shirt and shorts. Anybody can do that. Keegan's, that's fine. That's a good one. But this,
Homeless people can do that.
I've never seen a homeless person look like this.
I have.
That's because they'd be ashamed.
I have.
I'm not ashamed. I'm not ashamed. Clearly, I wore it. So.
The homeless guy turned that shirt in, by the way. Like, he didn't even want to wear that shirt.
God bless him. I like it.
Golly.
Glad he did.
Pastel. Yeah, whatever. We got it.
He's not going to remember that.
No, I'm not.
We're real bad with names here. So I've got the notes, and I'm going to tee you up and let you go because that's my peach monster. You had one of those yet?
I haven't.
Take a little sip.
I don't trust
take-
you where your mouth's been.
I've been here all day. I haven't done anything. I drank
Before
coffee.
you got here.
I went for a bike ride.
Okay.
Okay.
Anyway, continue.
This is the new best monster flavor.
I've already
Ultra
had a monster
PG.
today. I can't do two in a day
Why not?
But
because that's not healthy.
I've done
One's bad enough. Two's a no-go.
and I've done like 3 or 4 in one day.
We know.
It was bad.
Look at your shirt. We know.
Yeah. Well, that's just the kind of baller I am. So, Caleb, a lot of people contact you
So you want to have a TV show, yeah?
and ask, so you want to have a TV show.
Mm-hmm.
What's your immediate response when somebody's like, hey, Caleb, I want to have a TV show?
My first response is usually like, but do you really? Like, why? Why do you want a TV show? Like, and maybe, and sometimes now people say TV show and they think web show or they think some sort of series. You know, it's like, okay, do you really want to be on quote unquote linear television? Which now things are changing, which we'll get into that later. But that's the first thing I ask. I'm like, do you really? Because it's not what you think it is. It's not the budget you're planning in your head, and it's not the time commitment that you have in your head. I can promise you it's more. And then when I finally start explaining that to people, that's when they start doing the old back pedal. And they're like, oh, how much? Oh, how long? Oh, I got to do what now? And by the way, you haven't even went hunting yet. That's just what's going to cost to get it on air. You haven't done the first thing yet. You haven't traveled to the first place. You haven't rolled the first clip. It's we'll get into that later, but it's a gigantic undertaking.
Like almost, I mean, how many, the average web show versus the average TV show? Like, what's the increase in cost and time?
I would say 4x.
4 times.
It is a good starting point. It's 4x the work, 4x the budget, 4x the time.
I would say that's
roundabout.
Yeah.
So if you're doing a 10-episode web series, you know, and you're having a company like us produce it, and you're doing solid hunts, and you've got $50,000 invested in that between hunts and travel and production and everything, 4 times that, and you're just now getting on air. You haven't hunted yet. So it's such a big thing that people don't understand, and it's a whole nother animal that is not.
It is
for us. It's the work on our end is more than 4x, I would think. And people's like, well, how can you explain why is it 4x the work? Okay, well, you can tell a story on web. You can tell a really good story of a hunt. You can tell a really good story on a hunt if you're doing a hunting show. I'm just assuming we are because we're on the Redneck Tech podcast. You can tell a really good story in 9-10 minutes. That's all it takes. In web, you can do that. It can be 9 or 10 minutes. But on TV, it's got to be 22 and a half. But you only have a 9-minute story.
on the nose.
On the nose.
That's another level. of
So
difficulty.
where are we getting the other 11 minutes of content, or 12 minutes of content, whatever it is? You got to make it. You got to produce it. And it's got to be good. It's got to be relevant. It's got to be either more hunting or something to add value to your sponsors or your viewers. And that's more than 2x the work that you put into that 9 minutes. Okay, now not only do I have to make it 22 and a half minutes, I've got to fill that 22 and a half minutes into 4 segments that equal 22 and a half minutes. So I have to plan around segments.
And they can't be too short or too long.
And they can't be too short or too long. I have to make sure there's certain guidelines met for Outdoor Channel, Sportsman Channel, Pursuit Channel, whether that's can't have graphics in the lower thirds, I can't have words in this part of the screen, I can't wear these certain things, I can't show this shot more than twice, I can't show a kill shot more than 3 times, I can't play a slow-mo, high-speed running off with blood coming out over a certain amount of time. There's literally a booklet you get of all of these guidelines that you have to follow for a TV show. And if you don't follow them, and when they go through QC, they'll kick your show back, and then it's late, and then that costs you even more money. So that's just like the scratching the surface of the differences. And you've got to pay for that thing to go somewhere. You know, you're looking anywhere between $30,000 and $150,000 in airtime cost,
which we'll get into later.
and then we'll get into production cost, and then you get into your hunt cost, your travel cost, you know, your music licensing cost. I mean, there's so many costs associated with it, and they're all higher when you start talking about TV.
I think that is one thing that people don't realize, is that you have to pay to be on hunting TV, that you're not getting paid to be on air.
Not at the beginning, especially now. You know, that ship sailed 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we have 2 shows that we're talking to, or 1 show right now that they want a couple of sponsors wanting to be on TV, and he's going to have to come out of pocket for it the first year, and with no guarantees year 2 that he's going to get paid anything back, even break even.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but I also explain to people too. Okay, so you're dead set on one TV show. You have your reasons. You have, you know, a sponsor, a partner, or somebody that said they want to see it on Sportsman or Outdoor. Okay, that's fine. You figure you have the budget out of your own pocket, whatever. Great. Okay. How are you going to get that money back? Are there any guarantees that you're going to get that money back? No, there's not.
I remember you used to say it was first 2 years, you usually expect people to come out of pocket. Third, if you're doing good, you'll break even, and then maybe 4, you can
And that's
start.
what I'm getting at. Is like you look at any business. Generally, when you start a business, your first year, you're lucky to break even. Usually you lose money. I mean, that's why IRS allows you to show a loss for 2 or 3 years in a business, because most of the time you don't make money. It's a business. You're trying to get off the ground. You're trying to start it. It's just like a TV show. You know, year 1, you don't make money. You probably lose money, significant amount. Let's say, for the sake of round numbers, for a good TV show, you're in the hole $250,000. That's on the low end. You're in the hole $250,000. Well, I don't have $250,000 laying around. Maybe you do. I don't. All right. Well, you're in the hole $250,000 first year. Second year, in this business, you have to prove that you have a track record, and have some staying power. All right, so you create a really solid show the first year, you're in the whole 250. The next year, you pony up another 250 to get in and get the show going. Okay, well, now you've got a couple paying sponsors. Well, instead of year 2, you're probably in the whole, let's say, just for the sake of argument, now you're in the whole 100. Well, now you're in the whole 350 over 2 years. Year 3, you break even. You're still in the whole 300. Year 4, if you've got the money and the staying power and the willpower to do 4 years of hunts or 3 or 4 years of hunts and production, then you might start making money. And when I say making money, you make 50 to 100. Okay, well, if there's more than one guy on the show, you split that in half. If there's 3 guys on the show, you split it by a third. Can you stick it out for 4 years? Most people can't. That's why the shows that are on TV that are still making money have been doing it for 20 years. And they are making, the top 10 shows are making 90% of the sponsor dollars. And the example that I give people, they ask all the time, which shows are making money? The easiest way to explain that or to show that and represent that is if you watch a television show on Outdoor Sportsman Pursuit, I don't care. If you see that host, perfect example, Lee and Tiffany. When you watch Lee and Tiffany's show and then in that commercial break, you see Lee and Tiffany in the commercials on their show, they're making money. If you do not see the show hosts in their own commercials, they're breaking even, barely making it, or maybe making a little money. More than likely they're losing their butt. That's a general rule of thumb. If the company is invested enough in them to put them in the products that are represented in the show and also the commercials that are on there, Lee and Tiffany are always in the Under Armour commercial. They're generally always in the Matthews commercial. They're always in the Polaris commercials. Well, that's their big sponsors. That's who spends a lot of money with them. That's how you know. If they're not in their commercials, man, that you can guarantee you they're struggling.
So the other thing that I always remember you asking people, and I hear you ask people for anything that they're doing, whether it's a web show or a podcast or a TV show or, a brand approaching you with a video, is what's your goal? And I think that's an important thing to talk about, because you have to be really honest with yourself about why it is that you want to be on TV and what the ultimate goal is of being on TV, because that's really going to inform a lot of the decisions that you make going forward.
Yeah. Well, and maybe I should even back up a little further. Maybe we should even lay out kind of like what kind of TV shows there are, because there's a couple different ones. When I mean that by that is when you watch, and I know a lot of people listening to this might not even watch linear TV much anymore. You might start because there's being some major changes on Outdoor Channel and Sportsman Channel on where they're going to be provided. So you might have an opportunity to watch them on some nonlinear platforms now. But and that's kind of what we can get into that later. But think about the shows. I'm thinking about like the shows that I grew up watching and then we produce now. So the top tier shows, the top 10%, the ones that make the most money, your Lee and Tiffany's, your Drury's, your Lindsay Ways, those shows are essentially, they have hosts, they represent products, they get paid, they do a really good job, they have a great business model, and that's its own animal, where you have 1 or 2 hosts, like a bone collector has 3 hosts, they go out, they do hunts all over the place, whatever, they come back. All right, so that's one kind of show. Another kind of show is what we call a corporate or marketing type show. Primos, Swarovski Optics Quest, anything Realtree does. Those shows aren't designed to make money. Those shows are designed to market a product or a service. Swarovski Optics Quest, that comes out of their marketing budget. They produce that entire show. It doesn't really need sponsors. It has some, but it's just because they have other products on the show and to help them with some costs. Probably loses money in the long run. Realtree, they probably have enough sponsors. They probably do make a little money, but it's not designed for that. It's supposed to be for the camo brand. Primos, they're there to sell Primos products. That's what they're there for. That's the kind of show. Then the third kind of show is your, what we call a pro staff show. Drury's 13, the Dream Season. There's so many of them. I haven't watched TV in so long, but the shows that have a crew of people or 2-man teams that go out and they film hunts all over the place. They send in their footage and somebody cuts up 13 episodes out of, a team of people out there hunting.
They're basically just aggregating the best stuff.
Essentially,
from a
yeah. And then
crew of people.
they're adding value by doing a good job on killing a big deer, getting good footage, and they figure out a way to make it worth their crew's while or whatever. That's another type of show. And then the fourth kind of show is my least favorite show, and that's the really rich guy that needs a write-off that wants to see himself on TV. And there's plenty of those. Anybody out there can have a TV show if they got enough money. A lot of people ask, like, how do you become a millionaire in the outdoor industry? And it's you start by being a billionaire, because that's how you do it.
Boy, we might need that on a T-shirt.
Yeah. So, but anyway,
That's a good
like,
t-shirt idea.
there's no reason that you couldn't have your own TV show if you got the money, you got the time. And there's been plenty of those over the years that have wanted to see themselves on TV. They've created a season and lasted a couple years, and then they're like, yeah, this isn't what I thought it was, because it's a ton of work. It's not something it's not what you think it is. It's not what I thought it was when I got in this business. But that's kind of the four types of shows, if you want to be very general about it.
And I think that when most people approach us for doing a TV show or asking us about TV shows, they're usually asking with the goal in mind of being the personality show, with being the Lee and Tiffs or the Michael Waddells, right? Where the show is about them and they're making money from sponsors.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously there's the brand shows and stuff like that, but I think that most people probably listening to this podcast are probably in that boat where it's like, I want to have a TV show, and it's like the personality type.
Yeah.
And that's the most difficult one to make the money.
It is. And if you do make the money and you are successful at it, you got to remember those shows have 30 to 50 sponsors, which means you have 30 to 50 bosses that you have to adhere to. And that's where people stop liking watching Outdoor Channel shows, is because they feel like it's an infomercial. Well, we've created that monster in the model and that's something we could back up even further, is Outdoor Channel, Sportsman Channel, Pursuit Channel, for those of you who don't know, are very different than every other network show. It's a pay-to-play system. So you can have a show by paying for the airtime and having a show to deliver. Whereas an A&E, History Channel, Discovery Channel, those type of platforms, with a few exceptions, but mainly all those network shows, they find a show or a concept or a host. They have a production crew. They go out and they create the show and they bring it back. The network owns the show, and they sell the ads inside the show, and that's how they make money. And then they pay...
Or the ads on the network.
Or the ads on the network, and they are the ones that's how Duck Dynasty was. Like, they didn't own that show. A&E owned that show. Those guys got talent fees, and they got, some residuals, and they got some deals, but most of that money went to A&E. But that's not the same way. When they had Duck Commander back in the day on Outdoor Channel, they owned Duck Commander. Actually, I don't think Benelli owned Duck Commander. But anyway, that's why it's different. Outdoor Channel is a pay-to-play, whereas everything else is not. Like a Netflix show, I can't just go create a Netflix series and kick it to Netflix and pay to be on Netflix. It doesn't work that way, because if it did, there'd be several outdoor brands on there because they've got the money to burn to do it. But that's not how it works. If you want to be a meat eater, you've got to be invited by Netflix to be on there. Or you have to have a series of people in the right places and spend a lot of money and have agents and all this, that, and the other. But that's a whole different animal. But
that always amazes me, because there is some absolute garbage on Netflix that somebody thought that was going to be a really good idea to have their show on Netflix.
Yeah.
And it is not.
Yeah.
It's just so bad.
And I think some of it too is Netflix may be becoming less picky with stuff because of how streaming
competition
is hemorrhaging and fracturing. Because it used to be, like, when Netflix first started, everybody wanted to put their stuff on Netflix. Like, Netflix could call any TV show and be like, hey, can
give
we
us
put
an
your
exclusive.
stuff
Yeah, give us an
on
exclusive.
Netflix? And they're like, heck yeah. I mean, pay us this much money or whatever. We'll give you the stuff. It doesn't matter, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because at the time there was no other streaming services. So who cares? It goes on that one, and they still get all their TV audience, and it works out for everybody. But over the past, like, especially probably 1 to 2 years, the last year especially, all these TV networks are being like, oh, well, we have all these shows that we paid all this production for and dumped all this money into. We can have our own streaming service and have people pay us to watch the shows, and then we're not losing that money to Netflix, right? So that's why you're starting to see, like, every time a big show gets pulled from Netflix or Hulu, it's because the licensing rights have run out, and usually that network is taking it and putting it on their own streaming service.
And then
so,
charging you to watch it.
right.
It's
so
as much or more than having a Dish Network subscription now.
Yeah, if you want to have all of them. And now because of that, Netflix has to create a lot of their own content. And so they've kind of, in my opinion, taken the spaghetti on the wall approach, and they just produce things and they see what sticks.
They still have some anchor. They
while-
still have some anchor, series that make people want to, have Netflix and watch it. It's the same reason, and we can talk about this. I mean, we're going deep in the weeds, which this is kind of the stuff I like talking about. But if you look at streaming platforms, look at the big ones, look at Netflix, look at like HBO Go, look at Hulu, look at Amazon Prime.
They're killing it lately.
They all have usually 1 or 2, sometimes 3 series that they spend an exorbitant amount of money on. And those are the series that they probably don't technically make money on producing, but it brings people to the streaming platform and makes them pay to watch that one series. Like right now for Netflix, it's Stranger Things. It's Mindhunter. It's a couple of those really, really big ones that you can only watch them because Netflix produced them. Netflix owns them. The only way you're watching it is if you have a Netflix subscription. HBO, it was Game of Thrones. The only way that you're going to watch Game of Thrones is on HBO. You got to have a subscription. It's so good. But, the amount of money that cost them, like the amount of money Stranger Things just cost them in graphics. Like, I'd love to know how much they paid in graphics. I mean, it's just...
Oh, is there a ton of that? And I haven't watched it.
That's a lot of graphics.
Yeah.
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 I mean, it's a sci-fi show, so
yeah,
you can
imagine. Most of Game of Thrones is graphics.
Yeah.
But it's Amazon Prime. They just released Terminal List. They hit that marketing campaign harder than anyone I've seen lately.
Yeah, that's one of the only Amazon Prime show, because I don't have Prime, but that's one of the only Prime shows that I can think of knowing off the top of my head.
Yeah. There's Terminal List. There's the Tom Clancy one. Crap.
They have a few
There's
shows
Reacher,
in that genre that are
There's
really good.
Reacher, and then there's Jack Ryan. That's what I'm thinking of. Jack Ryan's really good.
Mm-hmm.
What's his name? John Krasinski plays the lead character. He's really freaking good in it. It's worth watching.
Wonder how similar those two shows are. The Jack Ryan versus the
Jack Ryan
Terminal List one.
Terminal List is not. It's not the same. I mean, they're both like,
because as a whole, those
they're very different though.
Yeah, they're
Well,
similar.
so the Jack Reacher one is about a guy in the CIA who is just a BA who goes out and finds people and does his job. Whereas Terminal List is about a guy who's avenging his family. He's a former Navy SEAL who's just murking people. They both murk people, but for 2 different reasons.
It's the motive that makes them different.
It's the motive that makes them different. But anyway, but the Outdoor Channel and Sportsman Channel have tried to do the same thing. They have anchor shows like Lee and Tiffany Show, but they don't own Lee and Tiffany Show. So it's different. And they try and push. They have shows that they do own, and they try and push those shows. Problem is, I hope nobody's listening, their shows suck. So that's why nobody watches them and nobody cares. Because it's more the same crap.
Shots fired.
There's nothing, and we're going to get into this in a minute. Are we to the 4-part yet?
That's up to you. If
Well,
we're up,
you're
if
the
we're
one that
there,
noted it.
If
I don't
we're
know where
there,
we're at. I don't know where we're at.
We're on 3.0.
All right. Well, I'm segueing into it.
Segue. Segue.
So there's. I mean, most people know Lee and Tiffany Show if you watch linear TV. But if you think about, let's just say a web show. I know we're talking about TV, but think about, heck, we can even talk about like what a show on Amazon Prime or Netflix, why you like it and why it's so good. A show needs 4 things. And this is my opinion. This isn't
And this is this specific to hunting shows?
This is how
This is
this
the
one's
gospel by
specific to
Caleb.
hunting shows. But if
These
you,
are the 4 commandments of having a hunting show.
these are the four
Father, Son,
these are the
Holy
4
Ghost.
commandments, in my opinion, that make a show great. If you have 2 of them, if you have 1 of them, your show sucks. If you've got 2 of them, your show's decent. If you've got 3 of them, your show's good. If you've got 4 of them, it's a top 10. Very few shows have all 4. The 4 things, in my opinion, that make a show great. The first is production value. There's not very many shows on the Outdoor Channel, Sports Channel that have production value. There's just not. And maybe I should define production value. Production value is when I watch something, it's cinematic, it's good editing, it's colored correctly, it's shot correctly, it's got dialogue, it's got drone, it's got all the tools, it's got all the things that make it creative and stand apart from the show next to it.
You can tell they took time and spent money
and
hired or had people with skills in all of the creative departments put those resources towards the show.
And I'm not throwing stones, because there's a lot of shows, especially web shows, that guys watch that don't have any production value, that people like to watch, that gets tons of views. This is my opinion. So production value is number 1. There's not a lot of shows that have production value, because production value costs money and takes time. That's why they don't have it. Number 2, you got to kill big stuff. Killing big stuff requires money. Another thing that a lot of people don't have. You got to kill big stuff. Number 3, you've got to have a good, relatable host or hosts, plural. Those people have to be real. They have to be believable. They have to be killers. The show's got to be their number 1 priority, and they are hosts of the show. That's their role.
It's got to be somebody that somebody wants to watch.
Yeah. It's got to be somebody that you want to watch. Tiffany Lukoski, Michael Waddell, that's a host. Number 4, and this is the one that's the hardest, is you've got to have an X factor. You've got to have something that cannot be replicated. You cannot replicate Tiffany Lukoski's personality and her bubbly nature and just how awesome she is on camera. You can't replicate the passion that Lee Lukoski has for what he does, and the ability,
the combination between the two,
and the combination of the two, and the place they've created in Iowa. It's just it's not unattainable, but it's very, very hard to recreate and replicate. Nobody's got the good old boy down like Michael Waddell does. I put Chuck in that category, which I know we haven't gotten to put Chuck out there like I would like to. But Chuck's got an X factor in his personality and the way he carries himself and the way he is around people that not very many people have. You've got to have something about the show, the personalities, the way it's produced. Something's got to be so hard to replicate it's nearly impossible.
It's a special sauce.
The secret ingredient, the special sauce. You got to have an X factor.
But it's not like the special sauce that all the restaurants have. That's basically the same sauce.
Exactly.
It's like an actual special sauce.
So there's a lot of shows out there that have 3 of those 4. They kill big stuff. They got production value, and they've got a dedicated host that's solid. But they're missing that X factor. Almost all of them are missing that X factor. So those are the 4 pieces that make it special. And that's why you see these shows that are making the majority of the money, they have all 4 of those things. Or if they don't have all 4 of those things, there's 2 reasons. They've been around for 20 years and they've got staying power and they've got great relationships with sponsors. Or, in the words of Chuck Belmore, they got naked pictures of somebody's wife. That's the only reason they're still there. And that's the only reason I could think of for some of these brands.
God, I love that guy.
I really do. I really do. But that's the only reason, and I'm not going to name names, but there's a couple I can think of right now. The only reason they're still on television is they got naked pictures of somebody's wife. And they're holding them ransom every year. They just show them that. They just flip through their phone and be like, you going to sign that contract? That's the only thing I can think of. But, I mean, I know that's not PC, and I'm sorry. But, Hey, I learned watching Suits, you got to have leverage. And that's leverage, buddy.
Everything's about leverage.
Everything's about leverage. And that's leverage if I've ever heard it. Maybe that's another shirt idea.
Leverage.
We got naked pictures of somebody's wife.
I don't know if that's a great.
I think that's a good sticker.
Yeah. Yeah, no
I would
doubt.
put that on my camera case in a hot minute.
Remind me to tell you about a sticker of somebody that we know that they used to create back in the day. One of the best I've ever heard. The most savage thing you've ever heard in your life.
Oh, I
Neat.
know this sticker.
Oh, yeah. You'll love it. Absolutely love it. Anyway, continue. Where are we at now?
So, up to this point, we've basically talked about all of the things that you need to think about and consider and be honest with yourself about before you jump into anything. Before you even jump into this next part, which we're not even jumping in yet, this is really still more things to consider. But it's important to just really, I think, for people to sit down and try to answer these questions and try to figure out what the show is going to be and what their it factors are. Are they going to be able to kill big things? Do they have a good story? Yes.
What's the one thing that if we hear one more time that we're going to blow a gasket for a concept of a show?
Oh, just me and a bunch of buddies hunting.
Good old boys.
And especially if it's like we are the antithesis of Lee and Tiff.
Yeah.
Right? There's everybody like, well, of course Lee and Tiff can kill big things.
Yeah.
They got this farm in Iowa and
Yeah.
they spend all this money. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
But I
Guess who's getting sponsored dollars and who's not?
Yeah.
Yeah, if
And I think
we get
that-
pitched, if we get pitched or told one more time, your show idea, your show concept is, man, it's just me and some buddies. We just grew up and we just like to hunt. We're just guys like you and I. You know, we're just guys like anybody else, just blue collar. Just like to hunt around the house. You know, that's how we're different. No, you're not. That's not different. There's nothing at all unique about that. Not even a little bit.
It's been done and been done again.
Oh, and
been
it's
done
never-
again and again and again and again.
And the only one that I know about that's still around like that is small town hunting. And the reason they are is because they're really good personalities and they kill big stuff. You do not have their personality. Sorry.
Yeah.
Continue.
And
I just get fired up, man. Just,
Yeah, and-
gosh.
and honestly,
Been down
I
this
think-
road so many times.
And I
You
think
could
that's
just watch
where,
the blood
Oh,
boil.
man, I
in
just
ya.
get so mad.
well, and that's where being really honest with yourself is important,
Right?
right? Because like,
I got
hey,
something else I want to say now.
I think it's.
Got a mat on.
You got a mat on. I don't want to stop the mat on. I'll let
Well,
Caleb get his
so-
mat on.
Here's the other thing. I say that because I've heard so many guys pitch that to me. In my first little web show that I wanted to start back in the day, that's what it was. But I was also one of the few people that was honest with myself, and I said, what's unique about this? Absolutely not. The only thing unique about it at the time was it was a web show and not a TV show, because at the time, if you didn't have a TV show, you were nothing. This was 13 years ago, 14 years ago. But the other thing is what kind of what Ryer said is you have to be honest with yourself as to what you want. And I've only had one person ever be honest with me. Is I've had this conversation web show, on a TV show, on a series, they want something. And I ask them, you know, what's your goal? What's this, that, and the other? And what I want out of them is for them to tell me, you know what, I just want to see myself on camera. Because that's the reason that a lot of people want to do it, but they won't say it, and they're not honest with themselves.
Mm-hmm.
If that's your goal, I would rather know that so I could say, okay, so you want to see yourself. All right, how do we make you either, you know, bring out more personality, make you better at this? How do we improve you there? I've only had one person ever tell me, you know what, I just really want to see myself on camera. I want to be the host of the show. One person in 10 years doing this. And I can tell you who he is. I'm not going to say it right now. He's the only guy that's ever came out and said, I want to see myself on camera. But I've talked to countless others that I know that's the reason they want the show. Is they just want to see themselves. They think they can do it as good as Michael Waddell or whoever.
They just don't
When
want to
they-
seem vain.
And when they can't do it.
Yeah.
When they're not, and I learned at a very early on, thank God, that I shouldn't be the guy on camera. I need to be the guy behind the camera, because that's where my passion lied, is telling a good story and being creative and bringing something to the screen that I wasn't seeing or I didn't know how to create at the time. And so I gave up hunting for 2.5, 3 years to film whoever would go, because you're never short of somebody who wants to hunt in front of the camera. You're very short in finding somebody who will volunteer their time behind it. So But being honest with yourself, and if you're the guy that wants to see themselves, that's fine. I don't have a problem with it if you're honest with me about it, you know. But for you to say, well, you know, man, no, I think we're unique, man. We're just good old boys, and just no, you just want to see yourself on camera, or you want to get some free stuff. If that's what you want, be honest.
You want to get paid to hunt.
You want to get paid to hunt, or you want to get some free gear from somebody. If that's what you want, I can work with that. But don't feed me some bullcrap line about this show concept that's been done 9,000 times. No, be honest with me.
Well, it's the same thing with like a brand that wants a show, right? Like a Primos.
Mm-hmm.
If you ask them why do we have that show, well, it's to sell more product.
Mm-hmm.
That gives you so much information, especially us, who they would approach to produce a show, as to, okay, well, they want to sell more products, so we need to make a show that sells them more products. They would, like, that's their priority, so all these other things have to fall in line underneath it.
Yeah.
You know, like, you can start narrowing down some of your priorities and your decision-making processes if you're honest with yourself about what it is that you're trying to do.
Mm-hmm. And egos, man. This industry, you couldn't fit the egos in the entire room at ATA. Like, it's that place is busting wide open with egos. And if you're the guy with the ego, know that you're guy with the ego and figure out how to work within that. And again, be honest with yourself. I got an ego, you know. I'm going to do this. I'm going to say that. I'm going to get mad about this. I want to be the lead guy. I want to see myself more. It's like, okay, that's fine. I just want you to tell me that. But I'm telling you, man, there's been so few of these quote-unquote pro staff shows where you've got 4 or 6 guys that are trying to do a show that last, because there's always 1 or 2 that want to see themselves more than everybody else, and they feel like they're working harder than the rest of them, and it just never works. If you can make it work, good luck. But, man, you got to be honest with not only yourself but everybody else that's involved, because I've been through this so many times, and I know of so many hurt friendships and broken up friendships and everything in between.
Especially, I think, on the TV side of things, because it magnifies everything, because there's obviously the status of being on TV involved, which doesn't help people's egos and doesn't help how people feel about themselves. But also at the same time, you're like you said, you're in it $250K.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's money on the line now.
Oh.
Whereas with the web show, there may be money on the line, but it's not $250K plus.
Yeah.
Right? So that's why it's super, super important before you decide to go diving into a TV show to really understand what you're in it for, what your goals are. Is everybody rowing in the same direction? Yeah. Do we have something that actually can be successful, or are we going to be setting ourselves up for failure and frustration and all of these things where, especially if you've got a team of guys, I mean,
yeah,
you start, that's where you, like you said, you start breaking friendships over that.
And $250K is a baseline.
Right.
The top 10 shows are spending significantly more than that.
Right.
And the reason is when it takes money to make money, just like every other business. You know, they got, you know, $300,000 to $500,000 in production and hunts. It's like, man, that's a ton of money.
Yeah.
But they've got probably 2 sponsors that paid for that. You're like thinking, oh, wow, I mean, you know, that's a lot, $250,000 a year. It's like there's only a couple of them out there to do it. But they have set a standard that they know nobody else is willing to meet. That's why they're getting paid that much money. $250 is a baseline. That's for production in your hunts and some travel. You know, that's before you've paid airtime. You know, it's extremely, extremely expensive.
Yeah, I think. And
I don't know how the hell people do it. I still don't know how they're doing it. Some of these shows, like how they are coming up with that much money every year, they just must have money to burn. Well, whatever. Because most of them suck.
Most of them are not making that money back.
They do. Most of them suck. I mean, I'm not saying anything y'all don't know. I mean, y'all know that.
So I think
that's why I don't watch hunting content.
Well, I just can't. People ask me about stuff all the time, you know, and to review and to look, and I'm so jaded now. You know, I've got such a different perspective. I mean, me and you were talking about just life in general, much less this industry. It's even worse. But it's like I can't watch it with an unbiased eye anymore. It's almost not. It's ruined it for me because I know, You know, I was talking to him about fishing the other day. Who was I talking to? About fishing shows. I was like, oh my God, fishing shows are the easiest thing in the world to do. Like, why do you say that? I'm like, you can catch 4 or 5 fish and film a whole fishing show. They're like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, you catch the fish, then you turn the camera on. You don't have to worry about it until they catch the fish. And I was like, you fake the hook set. And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, you very rarely, if ever, get the live hook set. Like, what do you mean? I'm like, all you got to do is have the fish on the line and say, hey, give me a hook set. And they fake the hook set. And then you reel the fish in. And they're like, they're faking that? And I'm like, yes. Where have you been? I'm like, nothing you're seeing is real. I'm like, you're being lied to every time. And they're like, I was like, but why is there the expectation that it should be real? I was like, you catch 4 or 5 fish, you fake 4 or 5 hook sets, and you talk about the fish, and the day you're having, show's over. You're getting on the water and getting out of the water, that's it. That's the whole show.
A few cruising shots, a little cruising montage.
Yeah, exactly. The show's done. Oh, my God.
A little area montage to really
That's why I want a fishing
vibe.
show. It's like, holy crap, that's the easiest. Dude, I filmed a couple of that the fin chasers. I felt like I'm like, they're paying me for this? I sat on the boat till they caught a fish. We didn't do nothing.
Hey, you want to film a fishing show? Let's go up to Alaska.
Dude, we didn't do nothing. They caught I bet we caught 8 or 10 fish that day. And I bet I had a camera in my hand a total of 2 hours, maybe.
Yeah, see, that's why I don't want to trout fish in Georgia.
This was in North Carolina.
Same. It's all bad.
No, sir. All right, where are
We're
we
not
at?
going to go down that road.
Yeah.
That's a long and windy road full of anger and jadedness. I think that segues well into understanding the undertaking that TV is, both in budget and time aspects, and how different kind of shows need different have different requirements in both of those respects. So how would you kind of run through the undertaking for the different types of shows?
Like the pro staff show versus the corporate show versus the I don't understand. Say that again.
Well, like, so you've got your Western shows, you've got whitetail shows,
Oh,
like you just said, you've
gotcha.
got your
Okay.
fishing shows, you've got
So
the
we can-
personality shows. Like, for somebody who has gone through and they're like, okay, yeah, all of these, the fuzzy stuff, right? We think we've got a good concept. We think we've got a group of guys. We think that we've got an X factor. We know our goals, all that sort of stuff. So the next deciding factor on whether or not you're going to be able to have a TV show or what you're going to be able to put into it is kind of, do you have the time and do you have the budget?
Yeah. The next
So
two.
what
That's the first
what
question
are
I'm
people looking at?
That's the
with time
first
and
question.
budget?
That's the first question I'm asking them though, is because I want them to know, like, okay, you want a TV show on Outdoor Channel, okay? Plan on 75 to 100K for airtime. That money's gone. That's what it costs to put it on the network. You're looking at, let's just, I'm going to say for the sake of round numbers, is there wiggle room in this number up and down? Yes. 250 for production. And when I say 250 per production, I mean a company like ours shoots every second of video. There's at least 1 to 2 people in the field on every hunt for a minimum of 100 days in a year. So that means you're hunting 100 days and there's 1 to 2 guys in the field with you for 100 days. And you're doing, let's just say for the sake of round numbers, 10 episodes, 10 days an episode. That's pretty dang close. You can do, but that's also if you're doing big game. If you're doing turkeys or you're doing fishing or you're doing, a predator show, you could probably cut those days down. But if you're doing what Lee and Tiffany do, where everything's big game with archery equipment pretty much, you're going to be in the field at least 100 days. You might can scale that down to 80, but if whitetails is a big part of what you're doing, plan on being in a tree every day at season pretty much. That's a gigantic, or if you're doing outfitted hunts and you've got deer tied up in 5 states, then you might can cut that down, but, or you're doing high fence hunts, which a lot of shows have done that too. That's where your budget dies, is the days in the field and the number of episodes. Because everything we do is based on time. How long are we gone? How much time is it going to take to edit? That's what we base everything on. And then cost is just what it costs. Flights cost, fuel cost, hunt cost, tag cost, you know. And then there's always things that crop up. You know, there's things that break, things that run out, things that you need that you didn't know you needed. You're looking, and that's before you've hunted. So you got 100 in airtime, 250 in the production, 350, but you haven't hunted yet. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, you've got a very low hunting budget, like we did the first year at with the Habit, and you did it for between 30 and 50, so another 50. So you're 400. 400 grand is what it's going to cost you to do a solid, really good show for one season, 1 year. That's what it's going to cost.
So 400 grand, and how many days are you not going to be at home?
80 to 100.
As the host.
If you're doing big game with a bow, 80 to 100. And that goes down. That's kind of the top end. Now, if you're doing like what Lee and Tiff do, or you're doing 15 originals or 20 originals, like, you know, like Bone Collector does, you're going to be gone even more. I would say on average 5 to 7 days per episode of television. That's how long you're going to be gone without travel. So let's just say 7. So 70 on the very, very low for 10 episodes. You're going to be closer to 100, around in there. That's how we try and budget. That's how we plan. And that's where we start giving price breaks in terms of what we do is after 20 days in the field, and then after, you remember if it's 50 or 80, we give another, is it 50? So 20 is a price break, and 50 is a price break. If I know that we're getting that many days, I'll give you a price break on your day rate. That's a big commitment. Think about it, 100 days, that's over 3 months. That's 3 months you're gone. And hunting season's only 7 months, 6.5 months, and that's if you're hunting spring and fall. So if you're just doing big game in the fall, you're gone the whole fall. You're gone the whole time. And then we're editing the rest of the time.
Yeah, which we'll get into later.
Yeah.
But, I think, too, it's important to just understand how many days you're gone, especially because, I mean, you've got to out-of-pocket $400,000, but, you know, you're going to either have to have some kind of job or a business or just have an immense amount of money saved up to allow you to travel for 3 months. So you're either going to be missing wages, or you've got a business that's residual income or something.
Here's another thing, though, that people don't plan for on hunting is, and this is what kills us a lot of times, is hunting is so dependent on weather. And you've got a hunt planned, you've got a rut hunt planned in Kansas for November 1st through the 5th, man. You're stoked about it. Well, you get there November the 1st and it's 75 degrees and the wind's blowing 100 miles an hour.
Seems like we're always...
Sorry, you better hunt. You got to figure something out. And guess what? You've got a cameraman there that's costing you $5,000 to $1,000 a day, whatever. You know, well, that's $2,500 you got in a camera guy. You got 5 days in the tree and you don't kill anything. We get paid whether you kill something or not. So you got to plan, and that's what I tell people. I was like, you plan 10 trips that you kill on for 10 episodes, and you got 2 or 3 where you're not. You know, there's going to be trips where you don't kill something. Been on many of them. Many of them. I still get paid. You know, so you got to figure that. You got to figure that into your budget and your timing too, because it's going to happen.
It always seems that we're always a little early or a little late when you show up to a place.
Mm-hmm.
It always feels like
God's like, man, you should have been here last week.
Yeah, or
Every
they're just
single
not ready.
time.
They're just not ready yet.
You
They're
know the
just
guide
not-
talk.
Yeah.
Freaking guide talk. I hate guides sometimes. I love them and hate them. Get there, my man. Y'all just missed it. It was great yesterday.
See, I
Or as soon as you leave, you get a text and they got a big buck down. You're like, man, you should have stayed one more day. It's like if I could reach to this phone and choke you, I would.
No,
Sat
my
in that
move was
stupid trip.
it's been all right. If it was banger or we did nothing, it's been all right. It's been pretty consistent. Yeah, pretty consistent all over the place.
I've never had a guide like that. They're always Debbie Downer.
Mm.
Oh man, I don't know. It's gonna be tough this week. And as soon as you leave, oh man, y'all should have stayed 2 more days. It's on fire now.
I get that approach though, because I do the same thing with when people ask me about footage. People are like, "So you get some good stuff?" I'm like, you know, I think I got a couple good things, but I can't really tell. Like I'll let you know when I get the episode finished.
Wait,
if it's good.
you modest about footage?
You guys know I say a lot of stuff. I'm very confident, but also at the same time, I'm incredibly picky and a perfectionist. So yeah, I talk a big talk, but I'm always in the back of my head feel like I never got what I wanted.
Oh yeah, I'm the same way. You're just never happy.
Yeah.
You're never happy with what you get. or you feel like you missed something, and then you get back and you're like, I don't remember shooting all this.
I also think maybe as a word of warning to those people who may encounter this situation, which we encounter a lot of, not a lot of, but it seems to happen. When you go somewhere, like somebody's buddy's got a property and they've been having this buck show up every day that they could kill from their front porch, and you just got to come here, and you're going to come here for a day, and you're going to kill the crap out of a deer.
What's the other one?
What's
the other one that drives me insane?
I don't know. That's the one that I hear all the time.
It's a slam dunk.
Oh yeah, every single time. If
I hear that, I want to choke somebody.
Anytime I hear somebody like, "Oh yeah, we're going to this guy's place. He's got this freaking giant. He's coming right by my freaking lawn every day.
Guaranteed.
You could sit on my back porch and kill him." Every time I hear that, I go, "Yep, we're gonna be here for 7 days. And we're not gonna see
Or if
anything."
I get somebody or a call or somebody's like, it's guaranteed, or it's a slam dunk, you're not gonna see or shoot a single thing. And Billy Lawson does it every time we go to Florida. He's like, oh, it's a slam dunk. They're in there every day. I'm like,
do that,
Billy, I swear to God, if you say that again,
that.
we'll sit there for 3.5 days and one piglet will walk out and we shoot it. And I'm like, slam dunk, huh? We shot a 30-pound piglet.
Can't wait for that
And
next
then he
week.
just gets so pissed.
Just if he said, just if he starts to open his mouth and say something like that, just goes, just shut him up.
Which is hard because you're going to have to interrupt
Yeah,
him while
exactly.
he's already talking.
Yeah, it's Billy.
His mouth doesn't close. It's
No.
already just always open.
Our clients would do that when we were fishing. Oh, this fly's really hot, or this lure's really hot. Nope.
You're not
Get
going to
out.
catch a single thing.
Get
on
out
that
of the
now.
boat. You go sit on the shore now. This is unacceptable.
Yeah, happens every time. So when you guys are planning your trips,
My dad's good for that.
Is he?
And he does it on purpose now.
Oh, that's mean. That's just mean.
There's no superstition in fishing.
You had to
It's all
teach me about the
superstition.
banana the other day. I didn't know about
Oh, the banana on the boat. I've heard that one. I didn't know.
Oh, and I've seen it so many times in person, like discover a client brought bananas on the boat and everything's going awry. Things are getting tangled, fish are falling off at the back of the boat.
Mm-hmm.
Find the banana, throw the bananas off the boat after everybody looks at you really weird while you're throwing bananas they just bought overboard, and then all of a sudden
Just all hell breaks loose.
everything just goes nuts.
Yeah. I got a question I want to go back to what we got on the live stream. How many years does TV have left? I mean, the 40 and under, I bet most don't even have a TV subscription or Dish Direct. They don't. I think the demographics now, it's even 45 and under don't. That's kind of what's happening. I don't know if you've really been following what's been going on since third quarter started. But there's some shows like Lee and Tiffany and some of the top shows that are now on Hulu TV, and they're going to Fubo? How do you say it, Ryer? Furbo?
I've never seen it.
Furbo TV, which is a big one for sports. Friendly and
Sling?
Sling. So there's some really big platforms that are now going to start carrying Outdoor and Sportsman. I don't know if it's for all shows or just a couple, but there's a couple of big ones that are advertising it now. And from what the rumors I'm hearing, there's something supposed to even bigger coming in January. So that is going to bring a ton of new eyeballs. Up until I heard that news, I was totally against somebody doing a TV show. Now, and the reason I was is because
new legs.
it might be growing new legs or getting a second life. Because if you were asking me last year, outdoor television was circling the drain. I mean, it was just like barely hanging on. This might be the kick in the pants that it needs. I don't know what it's going to mean for us on the production side in terms of deliverables and extra work. I'm sure it's going to mean something because it always does, and it always falls on us. But with that kind of potential and that kind of viewership added, according to what we're hearing, the ratings for the shows that we do are still good. I don't know. I've never believed those ratings. I think they're BS. I think they're smoke and mirrors. But when you add in platforms like Hulu, Furbo, Friendly, and Sling, then there is some potential to really add a bunch of new eyeballs. I think it was dying. I think it might have new life now. The next 2 or 3 years will tell. That one's kind of the same
What a
thing going
terrible
on the
name
mound.
for a network.
It is
Friendly
really,
TV.
it is really bad.
They're all terrible.
MOTV, Carbon, and YouTube. Yeah, there's several of those on-demand platforms. I mean, some are good, some are terrible. We have, Make It Happens on Carbon, Make It Happens on YouTube. Lee and Tiff, you're on MOTV. Problem with MOTV is everything's a year old. You don't get to see this year's episode. You have to watch last year's episodes, which is ridiculous. I'm just looking through to make sure there's no more. Matt Pastel said that for fishing, we book 4 to 6 days in order to film, 2 to 3 due to weather, typically. Okay, that's it.
So, what if somebody says, we don't want to necessarily hire a production company. Maybe we can save some money doing freelancers or filming our own. What would you have to say to them about that?
As
far as advice,
I would want to know the level,
or hire I'll hire one guy to film and edit all of it too.
I want to know what their expectation for the show is.
Yeah.
I would say, okay, if that's the case, that's fine. What show do you want yours to look like? Do you have an example? And if they say Hunt Masters or The Lindsay Way or Heartland Bowhunter, I'm going to be like, I hope your guys are really freaking good. I hope they're really good. They know their stuff and they can edit. And if they can, and you could find that diamond in the rough, then more power to you. Good luck. There's a reason that top tier shows hire production companies, because they're so consumed with sponsor obligations and making sure hunts are going off without a hitch and courting sponsors and doing the business side of this, that's why they're good shows, because they understand the business side. They don't have time for the production side, so they hire us, even if they have to pay somewhat of a premium. Sometimes it just depends on what it is. It's worth it because it takes that stress off of them, and they know when we come in, it's a turnkey process. They give us the dates, we send the guys, we pre-produce it, we plan it, we shoot it, we bring it back, we edit it. They give the thumbs up, thumbs down, make fixes, it's done. It's a stress relief, and it's worth the money to a lot of shows that have the budgets for it. If the money is what if you're trying to do a TV show and you're trying to save a significant amount of money, the quickest and best way to do that is to simplify your hunts and to negotiate airtime. You might not get the best airtime the first year. There's other ways to do it, but I used to think that production value was, and it is important to me, and it's important to our clients. It's not important to everybody, and it's not important to all the viewers. That frustrates me a ton, because I really look at really good production value as a very necessary thing. That's what I enjoy, but also I don't derive which we've talked about this, my creativity and where I get my ideas from other Outdoor Channel shows or other YouTube shows. They come from Stranger Things. They come from Game of Thrones. They come from Terminal List. They come from the Newsroom. They come from all the series
network TV and Hollywood
that I love, that have budgets that would pale in comparison to what we have to work with. I mean, they're talking millions an episode, where we're talking, $200,000-$300,000 for an entire series. Those guys are spending that on camera rentals per show, so it's, but that's what I also show people. Like, you want to see the difference in this and this one, man, I watched that documentary on X, Y, and Z, man. It was incredible. I was like, you know why? Because they've got $500,000 tied up in production for a 45-minute documentary.
They got a team of people.
It's like, and that's another thing. And somebody
it's
comes.
So cool to see that in person.
Oh, well, I've seen some fairly big production in person, and I love to see it. Have no desire to be a part of it. Like, I want things scaled to where I would like to have a crew, but like I want it to where we're not setting up lights for every shot. Like, I don't want to do that. I want the story to be real. I want it to be impactful. I want it to be organic. But I love a very well produced story. I love character development. I love production value. I love storylines. I love curveballs. I love cliffhangers. I love all the things that make drama and movies and series what they are. And I try and figure out a way to implement that in what we do. It's very, very hard because what we do is so much different. But I also like to watch, how did they shoot that driving scene? Because that's something we can do. How did they shoot that time lapse? How did they do those interviews? How did they do that in the field talking? All those things are things I can replicate in what we do to a certain degree. How do I get the most out of my talent, out of my host, out of my character? That's something I can do. Can I work in special effects and, these crazy, over the top, dark, really well shot, dark images like Batman? It's like, no, that's not going to work in what we're doing. Doesn't make sense. But, like with the film we're working on now, like we're trying to work in elements of things that we pulled from other places, not from the hunting world. We're trying to tell a story that resonates to hunters and outdoorsmen, but comes from a place not in hunting television. So I feel like I was ranting. Anyway, continue.
So you almost segued there earlier, but
oh, sorry, you should have stopped me so I could have segued.
no, these are all good informations. I don't want to stop you when you
That was adorable.
when you got your what? The little segue.
Yeah,
Yeah. I'd like
Should I
more.
do voiceover?
No.
Oh, okay.
I think you should.
I hate your guts. You have any questions? You good? You liking this? You
Yeah.
getting some good info?
Oh yeah.
Hunter's just along for the ride, man. He's just happy to be here.
Oh yeah. I'm
He's
happy to be
just
here.
grinning like a possum over there. I love it. All right, what you got?
So speak more specifically about networks and airtime. So you've got your show concept. You've figured out how you're going to film it. You got the time. You got the money. You got the people lined up.
Okay.
The next thing that you got to do is
you
figure
gotta-
out your networks and your
You got
airtime.
to call Outdoor Channel, or you've got to hire someone like Wildcom or a similar company, which there's only a couple of them in this business that would do all this negotiation for you. Most people don't do that because then they take a percentage out of what you make from sponsors. I would do that because I would rather make 10% of 100,000 than 0% of zero. A lot of people don't want to give up 10% of their money. I am one of those people that wants to let someone else do what they're good at and me do what I'm good at. I'm good at the creative and telling stories. I'm not good at selling. I'm not good at, dealing with corporate entities. I don't, like, there's parts of me that can do that and I do have to do that, but like, I know what I'm good at and I know I'm not good at. But
That's the Mr. Copeland side.
yeah. So there's what
El
you're going to do
Presidente.
if you don't call and have a company handle this for you if they want to take it on. There's a couple out there if you want information on those. I know a couple. But you negotiate it yourself. So you call Outdoor Channel, Sportsman Channel, Pursuit Channel, whatever, and you say, hey, I've got this show. I've got the money, got the time, got the production company, everything. I have a pilot shot. You probably need to have a pilot done. And a pilot is a shortened version of what the show is going to look like. You usually would pay a production company or go out and do that yourself. If you want more information on the pilot, call us and we can help you, but that's a whole different ballgame. They would look at it. They would approve it. If it's Outdoor Channel, Sportsman Channel, they're probably going to approve it because they want your money. Then you say, okay, what airs time do you want? How many times a week do you want to be aired? So when I say airtime, think about when is everything that you want to watch normally come on back when it wasn't streaming? Well, look at sports. Most times
5,
sports are
6,
coming
7,
on
8.
Sunday nights at 7, 8 o'clock. Well, that's prime time. That's when everybody's sitting there watching their TV. That time frame, that 30-minute slot, costs a lot more than Tuesday nights at 2 a.m. after the Flex Seal commercials. That's not going to cost near as much.
Those are
And-
great commercials.
And then it comes down to how many times a week do you want the show to air? 3 times, 4 times, 5 times? Okay, if you want it to air 5 times, that's going to cost more than if you want it to air 3 times. Well, what's the value in adding 5 airings versus 3? Well, that's more chances for more eyeballs, better ratings. Usually the shows like Lee and Tiffany are going to air minimum 4 to 5 times. I think Lee and Tiff actually air 5 times. And then they're generally going to be airing now anymore. They're going to be airing more places. They're going to be airing on Outdoor Channel, My Outdoor TV. They're probably going to have a non-exclusivity with a Carbon or somebody else. And a lot of them that have exclusivity rights with Outdoor Channel, they're also airing sidecar shows that aren't the final show, that are just a re-edited short raw version on YouTube. That way they get more views and make their sponsors happy. It's all about the eyeballs and making sponsors happy. Everything is. So you negotiate that, and like I said, if you want the 3 a.m. slot on Tuesday nights, you can probably get that airtime pretty dang cheap, but nobody's going to watch the show. If you want the Sunday night slot at 8 o'clock, good luck, because I think Lee and Tiff have it. But you're going to have to pay more for that. The Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays, in the afternoons and evenings, that's when you're going to pay the most money. But like I said, if you just need to prove a track record and you want to get on TV, maybe you can pay for a cheaper airtime. You get one primetime slot, and then your other slots are, they're 10 a.m.s on Thursday mornings when everybody's at work, and then you got 2 a.m. slot, and then you got a Thursday at 6 p.m. That's a decent slot. It's not a great slot. And there's tons of literature online that talk about ratings and primetime airings and when the bell curves of when people are watching, when they're not, and all that stuff. And that's a whole nother discussion. But
for example, Lee and Tiff airs Sundays at 8. You're right.
Told you.
And then
I
Mondays,
just guessed that, by the way.
Monday at 3 a.m., Tuesday at 5:30 p.m., Wednesday 11:30 a.m., Friday at 2:30 p.m.
Yeah. So they've got 2 decent slots, 1 really crappy slot, and then their prime time, which is probably when I would say 70% of their viewership comes, is on that Sunday night slot. And that's when their new episodes airs on Sunday night. That's when the new episode drops every week for 13 weeks.
Shameless
so what's
plug.
your
Yep.
very good.
Watch Lee and Tiffany. Crush Lee and Tiffany. 8 o'clock on Sunday nights.
You could say we
Eastern.
crushed the production.
We crushed it.
I'm quitting. That was a terrible.
You just got to give him one every now and then. It's like a
If
dog.
not, I'll
Just
take it.
every now and then you just got to give him a little, hey, bud. Yeah.
Good boy.
I'll feed you.
Thank you.
I'll feed you again. Yes.
So what's the price range generally? What's the cheapest
I
you could
bet-
get for an air spot, and
Well,
what's do you think's
somebody
the most
told me the other
expensive?
day you can get a Sportsman's Channel slot for $30K. Maybe you can. I don't know. But like I asked him, I'm like, is that Tuesday nights at 2 a.m. after Flex Seal commercials? He's like, oh, I didn't ask that. I was like, well, you probably should ask that. I think you're going to get airtime cheaper now than you ever have because they desperately need shows. But I say that with this new Hulu Furbo friendly Sling thing, that might change.
It's the worst lineup of names.
It is.
I hate how some things name their stuff.
Yeah. So I think it might change. It might make it more competitive and airtime might cost more. Or what I'm hoping is it brings some outside love or outside influence into the Outdoor Channel and Sportsman Channel space and not make it necessarily all hunting. I want it to be, what I want to happen is the cream to rise at the top. I want all these crappy shows to not be able to afford to stay anymore. New blood moves in either from other networks or other platforms, and it raises everybody up. That's what I want to happen.
So now that you've got your show concept, you've figured out that you've got enough money and time and resources to produce it, and you've got your airtime.
Yep.
I want to talk briefly. Everybody look me in the face when I say briefly.
You don't look back at yourself.
Looking at myself on the camera. About cameras. So we talked a lot about this, like I said at the very beginning on the last episode. There's not a whole ton of differences, but there are certain things that you might need to know, and there are quote unquote industry standards for cameras. So if you're looking to jump into TV right now, Caleb, what are the cameras and camera systems and accessories that you would say are industry standard? So that your show doesn't look like it was filmed on a potato compared to everybody else.
I think it depends on the show, the type of show.
Nokia camera phones.
Yeah, the type of show again.
Sure.
Because if you want to do the pro staff show and you've got 12 people running around or 12 groups out there, obviously they're not going to all be running FX6s.
Right.
I'd say top of the mountain right now is FX6. Is that the industry standard? It can't be because you can't friggin' get them. I would say if there's a camera that's still the industry standard, is the FS7, FS5. I would say that the majority of everything, I know Realtree's still shooting on that, Small Town Hunting's still shooting on that. There's several shows that are still using that camera. I mean, we still have an FS7. It's our backup, and it's in Iowa, Willie and Tiff right now. I would still say that, and that's still a great camera. It's served us well many, many years. Years ago, it was the 300K, and it was the FS700, and it's changed. It was an NX5U, but cameras have gotten better. I think it depends on, again, going back to that budget and everything else. But if you had to buy one camera that could get everything done that you needed, I think it's going to be the FS5 right now. But for the price,
The FS5?
FS5, for what it can do, the
Really?
price, the interchangeable lenses, the XLR inputs, the LCD, the rotatable LCD, it shoots on SD cards. It's a fairly easy and inexpensive camera to get. You can buy them used all over the place. If you're wanting to do a show that's got production value and it's got some cinematic value, that's the best way to go. If you want one step above that, it's the FS7. I still think it is. If FX6s were more readily available, it would be the FX6, but they're
Right.
not. Like the fact that we have
3.
3 and an FX3, I don't know anybody else got that many.
I mean, you didn't have to flex that hard, but you did.
Well, I did.
You did.
Can't hide money.
There you go. Flex it. There we go.
Oh, God.
No.
Couldn't even deny me that
And in
one.
terms of other things that you need, if you're not running lav mics, there's no excuse at this point. You need to be running lav mics. Lav and shotgun, you need 2 channels of audio. You need ambient and then spoken word. And then we don't really run any external monitors. That's kind of a personal preference.
A lot of guys if you're filming on a mirrorless,
Yeah.
there's a lot of guys who will run a external monitor.
I try and be as simple and as nimble as I can be with my gear. They're not required, but they are. I mean, they do have benefits if you're looking on a tiny little LCD for a mirrorless.
I might try that with the FX3.
And if you're
See about that.
and this is gonna, some people like them, some people don't. We don't film deer hunts without a camera arm. The fact that there's some shows that still do is just beyond me. I know it's a very aggravating step. I get it. Carrying it in there, setting it up, but man, does it make your footage better? Does it make you more solid in the tree? Does it make everything better? Yes. There's cheaper options if you're not running a bigger camera. We still run the biggest, heaviest camera arms out there that you can't find anymore. Speaking of, if anybody out there has a muddy Boss Hog and you want to sell it, hit me up. I want it. It's one of those things to where that's where we talk about production value. What kind of production value do you want? And we want the highest we could possibly get, and that means carrying in heavy camera arms and heavy tripod heads. We run the heaviest camera arms and the heaviest tripod heads and the heaviest sticks of anybody. And that might be a product of that's what I did at Sub 7 for years, and that's what I've gotten used to, and that's what I know works, and I can rely on it, which is another thing. Don't skimp on things in production. They cost money, but the more expensive things are the ones that last. Like, I paid $1,400 or $1,600 for my tripod head, and that's a lot of freaking money. I understand that. But, man, I've had that thing for 9 years, and it has been through hell and high water, and I know it's going to work. Every single time it's been thrown in and out of the back of Rangers and trucks, and it's more traveled than most people. But I know that thing's going to work every single freaking time. Spend money on good gear and good support. And then I know this is going to make Keegan cringe, but try and kind of take care of it. We do a pretty good job. We don't do we had a freelance guy we worked with one time, Ryan, who's I'm talking about, who didn't want to take his lens off to get dust on the sensor. Don't be that guy. They're made to be used. They're made to be out in the field. They're made to get dirty and dusty. Take care of them. None of them are designed to do what we do with them, But like, don't be the guy that won't go get a shot because it's kind of misting rain a little bit. Come on, dude. Don't be a puss.
We can use that word.
Yeah.
He owns the company. He can use whatever he
I know.
pleases.
I just like
It's
to
only
have a
his-
list of the words that I can say. After Caleb says them, I go, I can say that one now.
It's just his
a
mother
running
that's
list.
going to yell at you.
I have to catch myself a lot. I do.
You should have heard me last week. There was a few times where I had to physically stop.
I
because
listened
couldn't
for
think.
about 20 minutes and I couldn't listen anymore.
Well, it was a very informative podcast.
Mm.
If you guys want,
as informative as this one, no?
yes,
No.
yes.
No. It should be. It's 2.5 freaking hours.
Look at that.
Oh,
Numbers.
God, here we go.
So
That's why we get paid hourly, right?
I wish. So you've got the cameras, and now I think is the part that, I mean, among others, I think there's a lot of things with TV shows that sneaks up on people
Mm-hmm.
and that they don't think about. But I think this is one of the things that people really do not think about because it's like a dark magic art that happens in a room somewhere that they're that
What's the dark magic art?
editing.
Oh. It's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, what we're doing right here?
What kind of witchcraft have you been doing, Ryer? We don't do witchcraft. I think that a lot of people don't understand. They don't understand the post-production process. They don't understand the time.
Good. I want them not to. That means we make more
Well,
money.
yeah. They don't understand the time that post-production takes. They don't understand the skill and talent it
Yeah.
takes to be good
Yeah.
at editing. And they don't understand like all of the things that you didn't think that you need,
Yeah.
but now you need.
Yeah.
And I forgot to mention it earlier, but before you go shoot,
You forgot to mention something.
why do I
Hold
always
on.
do
Let me
that?
take a note.
So I think
He's so easy to mess with.
before you shoot, you also have to have an idea of what the show is going to look like structurally,
Well, I hope so.
the style.
Yeah.
We just didn't mention
But
it.
that's
Yeah, we did.
that's where production companies.
Right.
That's where we come in. That's what we love to do. That it's so I love it when somebody calls us with a project or a concept or a series or a show, and they're like, "Want to do this show, but like I don't know what it wants. You know what we want it to look like, how to shoot it." And it's like, "Can we tell you how we would like to shoot it?"
Yeah. No,
I
And
have
then-
answers for you.
and then when they
I've
say-
been waiting for this day.
And then when they say yes, and they are actually open to our creative process, like guys, if you're listening, like that's what we do this for, is we get our hands tied behind our backs almost all the time creatively, but for us to be able to just go out and create a show and tell the story the way we want to tell it, which this by the way rarely ever happens.
like twice.
That's where we
Maybe half the
thrive, and you'll see a whole different gear come out of us if we get some of that control. I'm not even saying I would love all that control, but some of that control. So
What
anyway,
would you
continue.
do with all of that control?
I've had it a couple of times. Not very many. A couple.
Caleb
those
sounds
are-
like he's talking about a
Those
drug
are my
that he
fa- yeah.
that he desperately needs to stay away from because the effects were just
You just
so.
mainline that crap. If you could get that in a pill
You're-
form, man.
You're like that, Dave. Y'all got any more of that full control over the production process? So, walk me through post production for a TV show. Like what?
It's time, man. It's
How long?
somebody the other day told me they knew a production company in the outdoor industry that had 9 editors. And I sat there and thought really hard. And I'm like, I don't know 9 good editors. Do I know 9 people that edit? But here's the thing. There's knowing how to edit and knowing how to use the program are 2 different things. Do I know 9 people that know how to use the editing program? Yes. Do I know 9 really good editors? No. I don't put myself in that category. I put myself in a middle of the road, maybe slightly above average editor. I put you in that category. I put Nathan Thomas in that category. I put 2 or 3 more people in that category. That's it. I don't know of 9.
And you're a guy who knows a lot.
And I know a lot of people. I know a lot of good editors that are like my level. I do. But guys that can consistently crank out bangers with solid footage, there's just not that many of them. And that's saying something because it's it's a very, very, very unique skill. It takes a certain personality. It takes a certain patience. It takes a certain level of crazy. It takes a certain level of.
You looked right at me.
Well, but you know this.
Yeah.
I mean, it takes an extremely special person to get to a level that I would say is a great editor.
I think there's as much of an it factor with a good
Oh,
editor as there is a good
100%.
host.
100%. Yeah. And they're very few and far between. And if you find one, try and hold on to them the best that you can. Or if you are that guy, figure out how to
nice little padded box.
figure out how to hone that and then
Lots of snacks.
capitalize on it. But I mean, you can tell, and I can tell them. I mean, it's a ton of time behind a computer. It's a lot.
I mean, I think it's generally what do we give? You're usually talking about 2 weeks an episode is usually what you kind of.
That's what I build into our budget is. When I say 2 weeks, that's 10 working days. Monday to Friday, Monday to Friday, and that's figuring 8 hours a day behind a computer. I figure that in as you've got a day to a day and a half. If you didn't shoot it, to watch everything. You've got a day to kind of organize and start laying out your rough story and getting a feel of all the footage. You've got essentially a day for each segment. So 5 minutes worth of editing time to rough a segment. So there you're a week at least. Then you've got another day of timing the show, getting reviews, getting it watched. Another day of cleaning that up. A day of color and a sound, and then a day of exports and delivery. So you're at least 8 to 10 days every time. Now, fishing show, different story. I'm talking about a Lee and Tiffany type show. If you're Nathan Thomas, different story. He's a special animal. But if you're me, if you're Ryer, you need 3 weeks. If you're me, 2 weeks. It's going to be really good, Ryer, but you need 3 weeks. So every editor's different. There's some that are crazy, crazy fast. There are some that are crazy, crazy talented. And I'm talking about, a down the middle Lee and Tiffany hunting show that's lots of cuts, fast paced, lots of music, very good production value. That's 2 weeks. If you just want a jury show with a bunch of kills with some graphics down the middle, we can do that in 5 days. It's easy. Every show is different, but the show we like to do takes 2 weeks.
And I think there's a lot of things that you don't know that you need to have made before you even start editing. I mean, like all of your bumpers, your title sequences,
Graphics
like
packages.
the entire
I
graphic
love
package.
a graphics package.
That's
It's a beautiful thing.
And
Sometimes they're terrible. I can't say it.
and a
There's
good
one out
graphic-
there that's real bad. Can't say who though.
And a good graphics package will cost you money.
Oh yeah. I know what some shows used to pay sub-7 for graphics packages. Jesus. Lord
And-
Reekus.
And then
I bought 3 trucks less than that.
and then outside of the graphics package, you also have music licensing.
Yep, which is more for linear television than it is for web. Significantly more. You're looking at $1,015 an ep.
So
An ep.
An episode, yeah.
We're calling it an ep now.
Shorthand. No big deal.
He's really hip.
That's funny. I thought we weren't using that. Remember how you took
In
it off?
in text.
Oh, just wanted to make sure. Just
Yeah.
want to see where we're at on that one because you used exactly what I put there.
Yeah.
Signify that it was an episode, even though everybody knows it's an episode apparently, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
They do.
Okay. Just interesting. That was interesting to me. So, if you don't have the skills to edit, and
Which you probably don't, but continue.
You come to the Redneck Tech Podcast editing class.
boom,
Hey, there you go. You're trying to tee that up.
that's it.
I
That's
see
it.
what you're doing. You did a really good job of hiding trying to tee that up. You didn't even give a nudge or anything. Good job,
I hid
Keegan.
They're
it
in
from.
sync.
I did it so well. I hid that I was teeing it up for myself. Keegan hijacked that. I wasn't teeing it up. That was the actual question. But there you go.
Hey, I am.
Here we go.
Okay, we're done with the fist
Half the
bumping here.
podcast is fist bumping.
I'm
So,
taking that
Where are
back.
you getting your music from? Lots of places.
The answer is yes.
TV shows, the biggest one for TV's always been FirstCom. They're very expensive, but they're very good. I've used Sonic Librarian. I've used Stephen Arnold Music. I've used Extreme Music. I've used...
Don't you use API?
Yeah, there's another one that I used to use. Bass Pro Shop had APM Music. Then there's obviously the ones that you use for web, Artlist, Soundstripe, Epidemic, Music Bed, Envato. There's so many of them now. Thank God. That's good because good music is expensive and great music is even more expensive and it's even harder to find. Trust Ryer's looking for one specific song for one specific instance right now, and we can't find it.
Yeah, I was on there. I was on a site for already 2.5 hours, and I was like, hate, double hate, loathe entirely.
Name that movie.
You should know it because you are one. A Grinch.
The Grinch.
I am the worst person at remembering names of movies.
Well, you ain't worse than Clay.
I was about to say,
No, Clay is literally the worst because he's not seen anything.
Yeah, see,
he lies about seeing things, but he hasn't seen anything.
There's a difference. He doesn't remember them. Clay hasn't seen them.
We were talking about a movie the other day, and a whole scene, and he said that he had seen it. I'm like, name one scene in the movie. And I was like, I know you haven't seen the movie because if you've seen the movie, you could name this one scene. I can't remember what we were talking about. But I was like, you've never seen this movie.
It's going to be like the meme of kids wearing a Nirvana shirt. Like, name every song they've ever produced.
Y'all still need to watch that movie.
Which one?
Which one? Oh, yeah. Killing Them Softly. We haven't watched it yet.
Yeah.
Oh, that movie.
Yeah, y'all need to get it together because that was pre me working here.
True.
Tim, if you're
couple
using
weeks.
Artlist and Soundstripe and you're not happy, I don't know what kind of vibe you're going for, but go ahead and get licenses to Envato and to Epidemic as well. We have licenses to all four of them, and we just bounce around between them all.
This was the question I was going to go for. If you don't have the skills to edit and you're not hiring a production company to hire everything, you're going to have to add the editing cost to it. What's your range? Assuming you find somebody. That's
between $2,500 an episode and $10,000 an episode. Everything in between. I mean, it's a huge range. We're not going to touch a TV episode generally, and this is general. Like there are exceptions for less than 5 to 7. That's about what we're going to be at. But that also depends on how many episodes, how intense they are. Is it a 1 camera shoot, is it 2 camera shoot, is it a 3 camera shoot? It all depends on time. It's all based on time.
So the last point, and this is the point that is going to make or break the TV show, essentially, in 2 to 4 years, is you've dumped all this money into something. How are you getting paid? And how do you? What kind of advice?
I can tell you how you're supposed to get paid, but if it'll work or not, that's the $1 million question.
Right.
I think the way to get paid is you've got to prove that you're here to stay, that you're a staple in this business and with your show, and you've made that clear. You create great relationships with the sponsors that you have or the sponsors that you get, meaning you constantly communicate with them, whether that's ask them what they need, how they're doing, invite them hunting, invite them fishing. That's the big thing. Like you see the big shows, they're always taking their biggest sponsors hunting and fishing every year without fail. Turns out marketing people like going on hunts. You're creating those relationships. You are constantly trying to improve your show. You are not skimping on hunts and trips. You're making sure that you're taking quality animals with quality footage. You're not killing something just because you're there and you got a tag. You're making sure you got it on camera. That's the hardest thing for a lot of people. And you're consistent. And I really don't know beyond that. It's just the staying power and just hustling, man. You look at the guys out there that are doing the best, they're hustlers every time. So there's hustling all the time for a new non-endemic or a non-industry sponsor, like Matt said. You're looking for creative ways to integrate new partners or new concepts or new angles or new cameras or new something. You're looking outside this industry to try to improve. You're leaning on people that are professionals. You're sticking in your lane, doing what you're good at, and subbing out what you're not. I think it's just like running a business. It's everything that it takes to run a business is exactly how you got to do a successful TV show, and then you got to kill stuff. So But being honest with yourself is the first step. Do I want to see myself, or do I want to be a part of a hunting brand? Like, I've got several show ideas I would love to do. Absolutely love. Several concepts, several things. Not a single time have I created an idea or concept where I was the one in front of the camera, ever. It's always with a person or an idea in mind. It's like, okay, this is the idea, this is the concept. Who would best play this role? Who would best do this? And usually it's Chuck. Usually it's a Dudley. Usually it's a, I've got my buddy Chris Trujillo. We got that idea yesterday. Like, I have ideas, and never, ever is it, man, I do real good at that. Film me do that.
Well, that's the same as regular television and movies. Unless you're Mike Myers,
Yeah.
you're not casting yourself in every single movie or TV show that you're making.
But I also know that nobody, and this is another thing that people just aren't willing to tell themselves. I know nobody cares about seeing me. I'm fine with that. I don't
can't afford to replace that many camera lenses.
Yeah, exactly. I don't care that if people see me. You never have. The fact that we do this on YouTube is literally just to get more eyeballs. It's not for me to see myself. I don't care. It's the simple fact of like being honest with what you're good at and what you're not. If you are not the TV show host and you know you're not that personality, some people think they are and they're not. If you're not, then if you want to do a brand, you've got a great idea, that's fine. Find somebody to run with that idea. Take the creative and own the creative side of it. Maybe you're not the guy that needs to be on camera, because out of all the years of doing this, I've met less than a handful of people that were meant to be in front of a camera. Chuck's one of them. Tiffany Lukowski's one of them. Jeff Foxworthy's one of them. John Dudley's one of them. There's only a handful of them. The rest, they're okay and mediocre at best. Some of them are like watching paint dry and have naked pictures of people's wives. It's the only reason they're on TV.
I told you the story. Where I got recognized by Jeff Foxworthy's dude on the plane when I was coming back from somewhere.
What now?
I remember him talking about it was when he's coming back from
Glenn Garner?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because they were in first class, as they do. And I remember seeing a guy sit down, and like from the back, I was like, that kind of looks like it could be Jeff Foxworthy. It could be. But you see people like that all the time. You're like, oh, it could be that person.
I don't know if I've ever seen anybody like, is that Jeff? 'Cause
Well,
he's a pretty unique looking dude.
Yeah, but you've also been around him, like seen him in person and stuff. Just like having seen him on TV and stuff, I went, oh, it could be, right? So because people look different on TV than they do necessarily in real life, and so I was like, oh, it could be. But they're in first class. I'm in Comfort Plus, so we really don't mix like that. This isn't the
Boy,
almost
Comfort
Titanic.
Plus. You were getting fancy.
I got first class coming back from Rochester. Player.
Oh, you got. Oh,
I also got upgraded.
Oh, suck.
Anyways, I was wearing a co-creative hat, and at some point, Glenn had gotten up to go to the bathroom, and when he was coming back, because I was like the first row behind first class.
That's who I filmed Kill That Moose in Yukon was Glenn.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
he's a goofball, man.
I had my headphones in watching something.
That dude's killed more deer than Parvo. Yeah, or not Parvo, EHD. That dude's killed a bunch of deer.
Yeah, so he tapped me on the shoulder and was like, hey, do you work for Caleb? I was like, oh, yeah. He said, yeah, tell Caleb that Glenn said hey. And that's when I texted
I
you.
can't believe he said something nice. I figured it'd be mean coming from Glenn.
Oh, so that's definitely not you got recognized.
No, I didn't say that I got recognized. I said that Caleb got by my hat.
Oh.
I didn't say I got recognized.
Man. I want to go back down their place so bad. Their place is magical, man. Gosh. Jeff's place is incredible. Incredible. I'd move there right now. He's got a really nice house he doesn't stay in very much. I'd go, man, in a heartbeat.
I'm sure it's got internet. We could move.
Oh, it's got internet. It's got a big, 10-acre bass pond in front of it, too. Dock. He's got a bass boat with no motor, just a trolling motor just to go out on a 10-acre pond. It's so legit. Oh, and huge whitetails. Turkeys out the wazoo. Just freaking paradise. But I don't have about $50-some-odd million to probably buy it. Probably take more than that.
Yeah, I mean, I think we got it all. Is there anything else you want to say about TV shows?
Just know what you're getting into, man. I think there's less and less people that want TV shows now than ever. More than anything, people are going to want a YouTube series. But again, to do a YouTube series right, it's going to cost you money. It's going to cost you a significant amount of time. You have to be dedicated. I mean, that's got to be your number one goal, is growing your channel, and that's putting out fresh content at the very minimum weekly. And
you can start that by filling our last slot in our production class in the beginning of August.
You can. And we also, we got one slot left for our August class.
Mm-hmm.
And it is almost season, boys. It's almost here. I'm not ready.
I'm not thinking about that.
So
not ready.
excited.
I'm not thinking about it.
So excited.
I'm not ready at all. Not even a little bit. Yeah, we're an hour and 38 in this. I think we're good. Y'all got anything else? Good?
No.
Any questions on the thing? I don't think we got any more. No, I think we're good. All right. Let's, it's just an airplane ride. Chill.
I just wanted to listen to it. I thought maybe it was a cool one. I might have to run out.
Good. Everybody happy? All right.
Yeah.
Peace.
Peace.